네, 아침부터 참석해 주셔서 정말 감사드리고요. 4개월 전 저희 아시아경제TV의 작은 회의실에서 나왔던 이야기가 여러분들이 아시는 이 세계 최초 블록체인 서바이벌 방송인 블록배틀이 되었고, 이렇게 컨퍼런스의 형식으로 여러분을 만나게 되었습니다. 오늘 이 컨퍼런스에는 총 40여 분의 이 글로벌 블록체인 오피니언 리더들이 연사로 나서게 될 예정입니다. 이 발표자 구성에 따라 영어, 한국어 통역과 중국어, 한국어 통역이 지원이 됩니다. 이 통역기 버튼을 조작해서 원하시는 언어를 활용하시면 되겠습니다. 네, 그럼 지금부터 2018 블록배틀 컨퍼런스 블록체인 자페어를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 첫 순서로는 김현우 아시아경제TV 대표님의 개회사가 있겠는데요. 김현우 대표님을 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
안녕하세요. 방금 소개받은 아시아경제TV의 대표이사 김현우입니다. 저희 업계가 좀 그렇잖아요. 아침에 시작하면 밤늦게까지 무슨 일들을 많이 하시니까 조금씩 늦게 시작하시는데 어저께 새벽에는 워낙 큰 빅 이벤트가 있어서 당연히 아침에 좀 늦게 오실 거라고 예상을 했었습니다. 아무튼 저 아시아경제TV 대표로서 또 세계 최초, 한국 최초의 블록체인 전문 방송을 표방하는 아시아경제TV의 대표로서 오늘 이 자리가 아주 감개무량합니다. 아까 말씀드렸듯이 몇몇 저희 직원들의 아이디어부터 시작된 블록배틀 서바이벌이 전 세계적으로 주목을 받는 TV 프로그램으로 제작이 됐고, 그게 오늘 드디어 결전의 날이 됐습니다. 오늘 우리의 컨퍼런스는 지금부터 시작해서 훌륭한 연사들을 모시고 블록체인 생태계의 트렌드를 보고, 또 저쪽 방에서 여러분들 계시는 왼쪽 방에는 지금 참가자들이 부스를 열어놨습니다. 또 여러분들이 계시는 오른쪽 방에는 이따가 9시부터죠. 생방송으로 진행되는 마지막 최종전에 대한 무대가 세팅이 되어 있습니다. 그리고 위에 4층에서는 오늘 참가하신 여러 블록배틀 참가팀 이외에도 여러 코인들에 대한 IR 행사가 지금 4층에서 진행될 예정입니다. 오후부터. 참 감회가 새롭습니다. 아시아경제TV는 정부가 규제를 심하게 하고 블록체인 산업을 조금 이렇게 안 좋게 볼 때도 한결같이 블록체인 산업 생태계에 이바지하고자 그 길을 열어왔습니다. 그리고 지금 2018년이 끝나가는 지금 보면 정부의 기조가 많이 바뀌고 있는 것들이 보일 수 있을 것 같고요. 보이는 것 같고 2019년도에는 좀 더 좋은 일들이 일어날 것 같습니다. 자, 캐나다, 중국, 한국에서 참가했던 블록배틀의 참가자 여러분, 마지막 건투를 빕니다. 그리고 오늘 또 블록배틀과 오늘 행사에 적극적인 지원을 해주신 여러 협력사들, 스폰서들, 파트너사들, 그리고 스텝 여러분들 감사드립니다. 그리고 오늘 하루 밤늦게까지 익사이팅한 일들이 계속 진행이 됩니다. 어저께 새벽 2시 못지않은 익사이팅한 일들이 계속 진행이 되고 있으니까요. 한번 관심 있게 봐주시고 마지막에 다 끝나고 애프터 파티까지 즐겨주시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
네, 이렇게 2018 블록배틀 컨퍼런스 블록체인 자페어를 알리는 아시아경제TV 김현우 대표의 개회사가 있었습니다. 다음으로는 후오비 코리아 박시덕 대표님의 축사가 있도록 하겠는데요. 후오비 코리아는 국내를 대표하는 암호화폐 거래소이죠. 오늘 이 자리를 있게 해주신 블록배틀의 메인 후원사이기도 합니다. 네, 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
대회 기빈 여러분, 반갑습니다. 후오비 코리아 대표이사 박시덕입니다. 역동적인 한국 블록체인을 선보이기 위해 아시아경제TV가 주최하는 혁신적인 미디어 프로젝트 블록배틀 컨퍼런스 앤 자페어 개최를 진심으로 축하드리며 귀한 걸음 내주신 내외 기빈 여러분께 감사의 말씀을 전합니다. 오늘 먼저 말씀드리고 싶은 것은 오늘 행사의 주요 키워드인 혁신입니다. 최근 우리는 혁신이라는 단어를 쉽게 접할 수 있습니다. 블록체인 역시 혁신을 바탕으로 지금껏 성장해왔고 4차 산업혁명 중심에 자리 잡고 있습니다. 내외 기빈 여러분, 블록체인 혁신이 가져온 변화는 이미 우리 삶 속에 밀접하게 다가오고 있습니다. 국내 금융 블록체인 컨소시엄은 이미 공동 인증 시스템을 개발하여 활용 중이며 물류, 유통, 공공 서비스까지 우리가 모르는 사이에 우리 삶 속에 함께 하게 될 것입니다. 블록체인 생태계를 이끌어갈 주역들과 블록체인 미래를 함께 고려할 수 있도록 여러분이 직접 블록체인 및 암호화폐의 올바른 규제 및 발전 방향에 힘써 주시기를 희망합니다. 저는 오늘 이 자리가 블록체인 생태계가 더욱 크고 성장할 수 있는 차별적인 방향을 논의하는 귀중한 시간이 될 것이라 믿습니다. 후오비 코리아 역시 빠르고 역동적으로 변하는 환경 속에서 혁신이라는 키워드를 품고 성장하면서 블록체인 생태계를 지속적으로 선도할 것입니다. 오늘 개최되는 행사를 통해 블록체인이 불러올 혁신과 그 미래를 찾아가는 소중한 자리가 될 것입니다. 감사합니다.
오늘 이 자리를 있게 해준 블록배틀의 메인 후원사 후오비 코리아의 박시덕 대표이사의 축사까지 들어봤습니다. 다음은 본격적인 키노트 순서입니다. 첫 번째 발표는 RSK의 가브리엘 컬만이 준비해 주도록 하겠는데요. RSK는 요즘 글로벌에서 가장 주목받고 있는 블록체인 프로젝트 중 하나입니다. 오늘 주제는 이 비트코인으로 구동되는 가치의 인터넷인데요. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
안녕하세요. How are you, everybody? Thank you very much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here for RSK in Korea. So I would like to share with you what we've been working on the last 3 years on RSK. And before we start, I think it's important to get a perspective on how the internet has changed our lives in the last 20 years. Now we give it for granted, but we have in our pockets all the history, knowledge of the humankind. And, we feel it's okay, it's normal. But if you think about it, everything that we called the internet could be summarized as a subset that we call the Internet of Information. So everything that we've seen in the internet before 2008, right, is just the exchange of information. Because even when we do payments online, or when we transfer any kind of value, we are still only transferring information. Until 2008, real value did not go through the internet. When we do online e-commerce, when we buy shares online, the only thing we're doing is just asking one of these intermediaries to deduct from my account and to credit on someone else's, right? So when people ask me what's the most important feature that blockchain technology and Bitcoin have brought to our society, it's exactly that. Decentralized blockchains have allowed for the first time in the history of the internet to exchange value on a peer-to-peer basis without the need of an intermediary. So when we ask ourselves, what is Bitcoin? It's just a cryptocurrency. What is blockchain? It's a new technology. Well, we believe that this is way more than that. It's a whole new era of the internet that we call the Internet of Value. And we are super excited at RSK about this new era of the internet because we expect to bring the same benefits that it brought the Internet of Information to our global society allowing the instant, almost free exchange of information available to everyone, but now apply to the exchange of value. And why is this so important? As many of you might know, RSK was born in Latin America, and this map shows us the amount and the percentage of unbanked people around the world. There's around 50% of the human population in this planet that does not have access to the financial system. So sometimes, you know, when we think about it, we cannot perceive from Korea, from the US, from Europe, the global need for a massive transformation in a global financial system. In Latin America, 65% of the total population lacks financial services, right? So this is why this is so important, because the trend, as you can see below, it's getting even worse. It is estimated that by 2020, 2 out of 3 workers around the world won't have access to financial services. So this is the north and the direction that has made us create RSK, and making sure that, you know, we needed to take Bitcoin and blockchain technology to the next level. So it was very clear to us in Latin America, specifically in Argentina, you know, we've had over the last 60 years a major financial crisis every 15 years. Now we've been living with more than 30% inflation in Argentina for the last 15 years. We have examples that are even worse, like the hyperinflation that we have in Venezuela right now. So it was very clear to us that Bitcoin as store of value could represent the first option in the last 5,000 years that we as a global society have to store value in the long term besides gold. But when we wanted to start building solutions that could take financial services to the 3 billion unbanked in the world, we needed something more than just a store of value. We needed a financial system that could be programmable, that could reach billions of users on a microtransaction level. But the problem we faced is that we were forced to choose between the security and the reliability of the Bitcoin network and infrastructure, and Bitcoin as the most secure and broadly accepted cryptocurrency in the world, and the programmability and flexibility of Ethereum and Solidity smart contracts. And in order to build a more fair and inclusive financial system, we needed both together. And this is why we decided to create RSK. So RSK basically combines the best of both technologies. It's the flexibility and programmability of smart contracts with the security of the Bitcoin infrastructure. So in a nutshell, if we need to summarize the 5 different pillars on which RSK has been built, the first one, it's a virtual machine that is fully compatible with that of Ethereum. So there are amazing teams and projects working on Solidity smart contracts around the world, and we wanted to make sure that everything we built was completely compatible with what they are doing already, right? So if you want to run a smart contract on RSK, you program it on Solidity, it uses MetaMask, Truffle, it's fully compatible with Web3 and all the RPG methods that Ethereum uses. So this is the first pillar. The second one is that we decided not to use Ether as fuel, but to use Bitcoin, or the smart Bitcoin, which is a one-to-one peg to the Bitcoin network. So RSK works as a sidechain, right? Right now it's a federated sidechain, and once the drive chain opcode is implemented in Bitcoin Core, we will have a hybrid solution. But basically, this is the reason why every single Bitcoiner and Bitcoin community around the world supports RSK. Because we are using Bitcoin, or its one-to-one peg on the RSK blockchain that is called Smart Bitcoin, as fuel to execute the smart contracts on RSK. The third pillar is that we decided to allow Bitcoin miners to merge mine RSK. So when you run a smart contract on Ethereum, those smart contracts are executed by GPU hashing power. But there's a huge amount of electricity being consumed and infrastructure deployed around the world only to secure Bitcoin. Do you remember when in the early 90s we started receiving internet connection through the copper cable in the wall? This was a massive infrastructure that was deployed only for telephone communications, and we started using it for the internet. Well, this is the same logic that we apply to ASIC hashing power. So for that reason, RSK has support from all the Bitcoin and ASIC miners around the world. For them, this is a complete new revenue stream with zero additional cost. It's implemented at the pool level. And currently on the RSK mainnet, we have 30% of total Bitcoin hashing power merge mining RSK. With that, we have the same level of security in terms of the cost of a 51% attack than that of Ethereum. And we expect very soon to reach more than 50% and then towards 100% merge mining. It's just a no-brainer for miners. With that, we're going to be hopefully be 3 or 4 times more secure than Ethereum. And currently, the execution cost, the fees on RSK, are 1/3 of that of Ethereum. We're just leveraging on existing infrastructure. That is why. Then we also created a global federation of exchanges and companies around the world that provide additional security to RSK users. And last but not least, probably the most important one, is the global community. So instead of building a new platform, a new technology, and then going around the world finding a community, we decided to build technology for the most interesting communities around the world. So RSK basically is adding functionality to the Bitcoin network in order to provide the Ethereum and Solidity smart contract programmers an option to run their solutions secured by the Bitcoin network, and to the Bitcoiners the possibility to use Bitcoin to its full potential. And this is the main reason why we're doing this, right? And this is embedded in the heart of RSK. We are developing technology because we believe that if we keep on doing what we were doing before the blockchain revolution, we're not changing anything. The blockchain revolution is a technological revolution, but it's also a social revolution. Before joining RSK and the Bitcoin global community, I was working in private equity. And this is the first time in my life that I feel that we're doing something that can really make a change in our society. And this is something that we try to explain and share to all the developers and entrepreneurs that are deciding to build new use cases on top of RSK, because we think that we have a unique opportunity to reshape the world and build a better society. So RSK and smart contracts on Bitcoin was not enough. We want to reach 1 billion users participating in the financial system with microtransactions and microloan as soon as possible. The world needed a SAP. So we decided to continue on that path and take the RSK dream one step forward. And this is the RIF OS, or the Root Infrastructure Framework operating system, or open standard, that is basically adding 5 different infrastructure services that will help those partners and decentralized applications building solutions on top of RSK in a much easier and faster manner. So the first one is decentralized storage. So we will make sure that there is a solution to have decentralized storage on top of RSK. This will be extremely important for those cases of decentralized ID, where in countries like Venezuela, or countries where you have governments that you cannot trust, and you need to store your personal ID information in a decentralized way, the decentralized storage solution will be very interesting, and we expect the RSK full nodes also to be able to provide this service. The Lumino payments solution, it's the RSK version of the Lightning Network, or the Raiden network. This will be extremely important for those unbanked around the world that cannot afford to have every single transaction on-chain. So with the Lumino and the compression protocol, we expect to be able to reach up to 20,000 transactions per second on RSK for the smart Bitcoin or any other token that you develop on top of RSK. The directory service, or RNS, is the RSK version of ENS, which allows you to have an alias that you could use instead of your public key or your public address. This is extremely important if you think that we want to include billions of users that are currently unbanked, and some of them are illiterate, and it would be extremely difficult for them to deal with public keys. So with the directory service, you could get Gabriel.rsk, and it would be very easy for you or for that user to interact with a blockchain solution. We need to be so smart that we create blockchain solutions for users that don't know what blockchain is, right? I am not a developer, and I use my phone, I touch a button, and I talk around the world without knowing what's going on. So we need to build blockchain applications that work in the same way, that make it extremely easy for random users to use the benefits of blockchain technology without knowing what it is. We also will develop a certificate communication application or infrastructure service that would allow peer-to-peer contracts in a secure manner. And data feeds or Oracle services are going to be extremely important as well. One of the most interesting applications is to have fiat-based fees. So the RSK partners and users that are building these dApps on RSK, one of the problems that they have in the whole ecosystem is that they don't know how much they will be paying in terms of gas in the future. So if you can set your gas and the cost of your smart contract execution in fiat fees, regardless whether you're in Brazil, in Mexico, in the US, or Korea, you can set the price of those fees in local fiat currency, so you have visibility on the future cost. So this is what the Reef OS ecosystem is that is being built on top of RSK. Now I would like to take 2 minutes to share with you some of the non-for-profit projects that the RSK founders and some other volunteers around the world are working on. One of them is Blockchain for Humanity. This is a decentralized accelerator that is looking for blockchain projects around the world that are building a solution with positive impact for our society. The kind of projects that we are trying to accelerate on Blockchain for Humanity do not need to be related to RSK. This is a global blockchain incubator. We have partners here in Korea, the Temco team, it's part of it. And it's extremely important because technology is not either good or bad. And if we are going to use blockchain technology to improve our society, it's our responsibility to make sure that these good use cases reach a proof of concept. And the sad part is that most of the time, these projects that are trying to develop decentralized ID or financial inclusion or government transparency are not the ones that get the massive ICOs crowdfunding. So we all need to make sure that these interesting use cases that could really bring benefit to our society get a proof of concept. So this is the goal of Blockchain for Humanity. Then we also been working for the last 6 years on LaBitConf. LaBitConf is the most important Latin American Bitcoin and blockchain conference. It's completely non-for-profit and it's been running for the last 6 years. The next one is going to be in December, the first week in Chile. I know some of you are coming. You can see in this conference the whole Latin American ecosystem, but still you get the cypherpunk spirit from the early days of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And you can see firsthand why blockchain is so important in the emerging markets, where the real users that do not have access to the traditional financial system are. If you can come to LaBitConf, I'm more than welcome all of you and invite you to come. If you cannot make it, all the content and the presentations, including Andreas Antonopoulos and many more international speakers that will be there, are available for free on live streaming. So we believe that information and education are human rights, and everything that we do, it's available for free to the general public. The same thing that we are doing with RSK Educate. So as you might know, one of the most important bottlenecks that we have in the ecosystem is the lack of developers, the lack of talent. all the blockchain companies around the world fighting for the same resources. So we decided that we could put together a whole stack of blockchain cores, not only RSK, but also Bitcoin, Ethereum smart contracts, and we give it for free to universities or digital houses that want to create their own blockchain cores around the world. So if any of you is related to an education project or you're interested, just let us know, and from RSK Educate we can provide whole materials for your university or digital house to create a course to develop and encourage your own community. La Bitcoineta, it's a very crazy project that we started 6 months ago. It's a Bitcoin minivan that is traveling around Latin America, explaining at high schools, small groups of entrepreneurs, and small municipalities what Bitcoin and blockchain are. We believe that the blockchain revolution, as I said before, is a grassroots revolution, and we need everyone to be aware of it, not only in major capitals and major cities. So this is what we're doing with La Bitcoineta. You'll see here Rodolfo evangelizing the younger generations. The minivan has gone, I think, more than 16,000 kilometers already, mostly around Argentina, also in Uruguay and Paraguay, and now we'll arrive to La BitConf in Chile and continue to the rest of Latin America. This is an open source project. It's available for anyone to copy it. We have some partners that want to do the same in Africa. We have some partners that want to launch another Bitcoineta in Eastern Europe. Maybe we can do something here in Korea or in Asia as well. It is very important that we get to those cities and to those small places where people feel, ashamed of asking questions about blockchain, or they believe that this is not for them. We need to make this technology available to everyone. So if you want to get involved, all this information is available at rsk.co. This is the link to our GitHub repo. Everything that we do is open source, right? And we really believe in open source innovation. All the RSK improvement proposals are available in a repo and also available to the Ethereum ecosystem. We also have a Gitter channel where technical developers can ask specific questions about the platform. The Ambassador Program, it's a program where we incentivize different entrepreneurs around the world to learn about RSK. It's a course that you can take. It's completely for free. Then you can sit for an exam and get a certification on that. But basically what we want is to allow all the Bitcoiners and the Bitcoin communities around the world to get involved, to say there is a Korean solution on RSK, such as the Temco one. How can I commercialize that in Uruguay? How can I commercialize that in Brazil? There is an interesting solution in Mexico. How can I bring it to Asia? So this is the main purpose of the Ambassador Program, is to connect this decentralized community that is helping RSK to be successful around the world with the different use cases that are built on top of RSK. And then you also have the link for the education program. So as a final message, I think we all should spread the word that we should start valuing more a new kind of unicorn. Right? When I did my first roadshow in the Silicon Valley, every single VC was asking me how we were going to build a unicorn. And I think with blockchain technology, we have a unique opportunity of valuing and just taking in account those projects and entrepreneurs that are using their time, which is the most scarce resource that we all have, in trying to change the lives of billions of users. Probably those projects that are spending their time in building solutions for the billions that are currently excluded are also the ones that will build the most profitable business models in the long term. So there is a concept called Ikigai that I think is quite interesting, where you can have both things at the same time. Building a solution that could help change the world while building a very interesting long-term business model. So Also, if any of you wants to join the RSK team, we are hiring in Asia. And thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we heard about topic is value of internet from Bitcoin. So 지금까지 비트코인으로 구동되는 가치 인터넷이라는 주제로 가브리엘 컬만의 연설을 들어보셨습니다. 이 다음 연사는 온톨로지의 리준입니다. 이 블록배틀 심사위원으로도 블록체인 생태계의 미래와 온톨로지라는 키노트를 준비했다고 하는데요. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
And good morning, everyone. And I'm several times in Korea introduced ontology here. And today they ask, okay, you don't talk about too much about technology. You want me to talk about the blockchain industry. And so I use the name yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We maybe do more talk about how the blockchain industry will go in, what kind of history for that. And first things is, in today, maybe it's a bad situation right now for the digital assets. We need to rethink the blockchain. Where is it coming from? How is today? And what's the future of the blockchain? What is direction we should go in the blockchain industry for that? And first things is, when you think about yesterday, of course, even today, most blockchains still link to the Bitcoin and the digital assets. We are talking about the trading, we are talking about the funding or a lot of exchange, right? And so that's why today we find a lot of controversy about the blockchain industry. Some people argue, okay, it's very good in revolution, innovation. They create digital currency, they create kind of funding and trading and a new ecosystem. And the other side, I argue, what is really usage for the blockchain? What kind of real application in the blockchain industry coming from? Support a real business. So always face those kind of challenge question for that. So the question is, where is tomorrow we should go for the blockchain part? Okay. We have to prove its value of blockchain in mainstream, not only for the funding, not only for the trading for that. If we're string about the core value, about prove the value of the mainstream or business, and you will find what kind of value, what is core value of blockchain based on that. Excuse me? Okay, slides. The value of the blockchain. The core value of blockchain, maybe you have heard a lot of time. People also mention a lot of time. Actually, there also a core value only one word, and the only word for a blockchain is trust. Maybe talk about many times about that. But when you check it, every day we are working for a lot of projects. So many projects, digital assets, decentralized community, and advertising, many things. How we link to the trust for that. So when we deeply think the trust about the dimension, you can check where the trust coming from. The first is coming from trust from the technology, like Bitcoin. Without any third part, other trust source, you can trust Bitcoin as a digital currency. It's just based on technology for that. But that's not good enough. We still need a link to the trust from the most trust source is based on the legal system from different countries and different areas, trust based on legal system for that. And more than that, another kind of trust, or original trust between people by people, is trust through community. So we will find that almost all trust can be put in the three categories or three dimensions. But right now, challenges is currently no matter which kind of IT system, the enterprise ERP or internet-based platform, they cannot link all those trust mechanism dimensions together in a same platform, especially use the platform support for the individual. That is key things also is potential and opportunity for the blockchain. And the question is how to do that. We know the key value, core value of the blockchain is not only for the currency, not only for the digital assets, it's build the trust, cross technology, cross legal system, cross community, people by people. The question is how to do that, how to build those kind of systems to do. And the practice in blockchain. When you deeply analyze the blockchain practice, different projects, you will find a lot of projects is linked to the different the trust dimension and the price for that. And you can check is we need infrastructure integrated all those trust supports a different dimension. When you look at today's a lot of projects based on that, how those projects build trust linked to the different trust dimensions support for those people. Okay, you will find many almost cover all kinds of scenario we are talking about. Many projects listing here or listing in the crypto marketing always link kinds of scenario based on it. You can find all those scenarios, they support one or two trust the dimensions. For example, decentralized identity. For currently centralized identity, they will cover from the legal system. The governments will give you identity verification for that. But the decentralized, they can base on technology. For example, prove your digital assets account or digital assets you have. And also from a legal system, the government prove your nationality from your EID, your passport. And also, you can get trust source from community, from people by people. We can support each other and prove each other's information. So the blockchain and decentralized mechanism is the best situation, best infrastructure to link all those scenarios together. And also you can check the reputation, the decentralized community also cover different technology and community based on that. So if we reach to that way, and what kind of infrastructure we should have to support that. So when we review the several generations about the situation, you can check, okay, the first generation Bitcoin is owning the trust based on technology without any third party involving. We can just use a private and public key to private our digital currency, digital assets. But when the times go in, you will find another coming from. Ethereum is actually based on technology, also kind of trust build a community. Smart contract link the different participants. We can do cooperation based on that. But the next generation, we cannot ignore the legal system. We should merge all the things together through the technology, community, legal system. How to do that? Seems very difficult things to do. I want to share some experience in our ontology we have done right now for those things. First, of course, the blockchain infrastructure. You should have the blockchain infrastructure not only one public blockchain. People not only can develop the application, decentralized application based on that, use smart contracts, use different programming language. They also can do customized their personal business blockchain with their specific requirements, with their specific consensus model or policy governance models based on that. And beyond that, you should another level, another platform linked to the real world, include the legal system and the communities, like decentralized identity framework. You can do the verification linked to all the information. And the decentralized reputation system. Everyone should have a different record scores to prove yourself. And decentralized the signature service, electronic contract service. You can do your business automatically on the decentralized platform, Bitcoin, blockchain platform, but also can support by the legal system in off-chain, in different countries and different areas. That is new generation, we call it new generation blockchain platform. This should support all the scenario, all the application, not only in digital assets or digital world, but also the real world or legal process for that. So actually, we're talking about trust a lot today, about the future of blockchain. But we have to realize that we are building the trust we never know before. Those kind of decentralized trust never exist in our history. Maybe people realize that before, but have those kind of tools to implement that. So that is why we think blockchain is so important. No matter they will meet some bad situation and some popular situation, a lot of things, a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulty. But those kind of mechanism is quite important. It's kind of change our mind for that. So all the today we are working for the trust. But all the works were for the trust is not kind of improvement. It's not kind of enhancement. Even it's not kind of rebuilding. It's kind of trust redefined. So today I have a lot of projects here and a lot of chapters globally. We should not only show our best in the stage, in slides. We should show our best in practice. Show your code, show your real application, show your different scenario you have done to build a trust mechanism globally to do that. And best ways for all projects and the whole industry. Let's work together to build the future of blockchain. Thank you.
We heard about the future of the blockchain ecosystem and ontology until now. 네, 온톨로지 기준의 블록체인 생태계의 미래와 온톨로지라는 키노트까지 들어보셨습니다. 이 다음 연사는 GBIC의 이신혜 파트너입니다. 이신혜님의 발표 주제는 한국의 주요 블록체인 시장의 동향과 시사점인데요. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다. 네, 지금 오고 계시는 중인가 봐요. 네, 이어서 다음 연사를 듣고 이어서 듣도록 하겠습니다. 그렇다면 다음 연사는 네오 글로벌 캐피탈의 토니구입니다. 이 블록배틀 심사위원으로 익숙하신 분인데요. 이 토니구의 발표 주제는 블록체인 기술을 구현하기 전에 스타트업들은 무엇을 고려해야 하는가라는 주제입니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Hello, morning, everybody. This is Tony. I'm from NGC. So I'm glad to meet you, everyone here. So how shall I continue? Just press? I just press, right? Great. So a little bit introduction about NGC and what we're doing. It's a blockchain fund. It's based in Singapore and Shanghai. So it's AUM, asset under management, is about $400 million. So we have invested 100 plus portfolio companies across the world for the past 12 months. So you can see this part of the portfolio. And yeah, ontology is number one, but we do have a lot of infrastructure projects globally, like Blue-Zell, Zilliqa, Oasis. These are all the promising, I would say, next generation blockchains coming on board. Yeah. So the team has been doing, 100 investment, but they probably have seen 1,000 projects globally, different countries, different industries, right? And we keep coming into one question, which is a lot of friends who are running an existing business, they're asking, so what shall I do now, before I spending money and time to implement blockchain technology, right? So this is a very common question that came true. That is why today I'm trying to share this. So what shall startups consider before they implement blockchain technology, right? And it's a very interesting question because it happens not the first time, it happened before. while the technology is evolving, if you think about it, right? So 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, when we only have the internet coming out as new stuff, people asking, so what should I do to implement the internet as a technology, right, to my business, right? So shall I have a website or shall I have an email address? So what should I do? And 10 years ago, same question, right? You see, hey, now we have mobile phone coming up and strong. Shall I have a mobile app? Shall I use SMS? Right? It's kind of thing. And similar things, social media, right? 5 years ago, shall I have a Facebook page? Shall I use big data? Shall I engage my customers on the social media, right? And today, you are asking about blockchain, right? And the answer to all these questions is the same. Shall you use this technology, that technology? It depends on your business and your strategy. Apparently, if you are selling kimchi, or you are running a bank, or if you are running a K-pop team, the strategy is different. It has to be different, right? So the question is, if I'm selling kimchi, shall I use blockchain? The answer is yes, but how? Right? It depends on your strategy again. So I'm using some examples later on to illustrate, some stories, how other people are using blockchain in the business, and we compare, right? But before that, I think the word of strategy is very misleading, because typically you spend a year in business school to learn about strategy, which is wrong, right? So strategy is very simple. Strategy means how do you make money in a very easy way, right? How to do that. So there are two very important aspects of that, which is, so let's look at this. There are only two factors that make sense, right? As for any businessman. So where to play? Where are you going to do your business, right? And how to win? If you decided to do this business, selling kimchi, how do you beat your competitors? That's only two aspects, nothing more. So if you look at this, right, I mean, I'm abstracting this whole thing in a very simple way, but if you look at where to play, are you looking at your own business, the kimchi shop, or are you looking at the industry, which is a kimchi industry, or are you looking at the world problem, which is, Satoshi is trying to solve, right? The central banks are issuing too much money. So where are you focusing on? Which problem you are trying to tackle? And once you define that, you need to think about, how am I going to win, right? Everybody's trying to solve the same problem. How am I going to win? So last night we saw this BCH, right? Half folks competing with each other. So these two guys, right? They all have his own strategy. So how do you win in this game? Then we talk about more value. Are you giving your customers more value, right? Are you allowing them to have cheaper services, lower cost? Or are you creating a new world, which is whatever current is functioning as is not relevant anymore, right? So if you think about all the permutations, you are in different business, so I'm not expert. But if you think about through this matrix, let's go to the next slide. And this is basically all the possibilities you could have, right? So depending where you are trying to play, how you are to win, you will likely end somewhere in the matrix. Okay, the question here is this: where is your spot? Or where you are trying to be, right, in the spot? And how blockchain, maybe social media, or maybe mobile apps, right, helps you to get there and win your business, right? So I think that is a key question. Can you go back? Just go back. Right. So next I will share some examples, right, about where they are doing, but they are pretty much in this matrix, right? And we can go through some examples. Okay, go next. So first example, focus on your business, right? It typically works for the big corporations who have millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of customers, right? So they are using technology, including blockchain, to bring more value, most of the time, bring more value to the customer. Chris Flyer, Singapore airline. I'm from Singapore, right? So they are putting their loyalty points into the blockchain about 2 years ago. Now they are allowing the customer loyalty points to be as a payment instrument to buy other stuff. So as a Singapore airline member, which I am, my points suddenly have more value. I'm not doing anything, right? The points suddenly have a lot of more value now, which is meaning that I'm more loyal to the Singapore airline, right? So that is a very good example. You have marginally cost, but you're creating your customer value drastically. So Fosun, same thing. The largest pro-equity group in China, right? They own healthcare, they own travel, they own Club Med globally. And they are the giant in China, many, many different business. So in this case, they are working with ontology, right? To put the customer loyalty points across different industry, business, onto blockchain, so that, depends on your need, you can exchange your value, your points, right, in different systems. So, you see, the customers in that matrix, his ecosystem, it's very difficult to go outside. So there's a locking effect, it's so strong, it's creating for the business, right? So focus on the business, using blockchain to lock them in, and so that your competitors will suffer. That's number one strategy. Second, I think Musica is our portfolio company. Spooks as well, one in here, one in Southeast Asia. So what they're doing essentially, right? They're focusing on the industry, not their own business. Why? They are in similar business. One is in music distribution business. One is in video distribution, streaming business, right? So a common problem of industry is that the middleman, which is the big guys, centralized, big guys, the publishing house, they are taking a lot of profit away from the industry and leaving nothing on the table for the IP owners, right, and the artists and the consumers, right? So the two startups think, okay, that's wrong. I'm using blockchain, right, to track the whole life cycle of a piece of IP, let's say a video, a music. And according to your contribution, right, if I'm a customer, I funded, I co-created, or helping promoting your content, depending on the contribution, I'm getting more or less, right? Rather than giving to the middleman, right? So this is basically redistributing how its value is created and distributed across the value chain. So focus on the industry problem and trying to solve that, right? Define the new rules. It's another angle. Will that succeed? We don't know, but we hope. If it happens, it will just push a lot of more competition power into the market, ultimately benefiting the consumers, right? So this is focused on industry. And of course, we all know that these are the big, names out there. They are solving world's problem. Bitcoin, Satoshi trying to solving central banks' problem, right? All this problem central banks has created, right? Ethereum, new ontology are trying to solve this, collaboration, value exchange, and cross-border problem, which is very difficult to do in the traditional world. Why? Regulations, country, legal system, it's so difficult to do cross-border value transaction. How do you buy a property in Thailand today? Right? It takes you about a week or maybe months, maybe $10,000, just going through all this legal framework, right? But on blockchain, the value transfer, even automated without third-party trust, can happen in real time. So these are the world's problem has been created by countries that is in the digital space, digital world, blockchain world. These are the guys trying to solve. So it's three different categories of projects doing different things. Then this is their strategy on the map, right? So, and you can see, you focus on the company giving more value to your customers or industry, disrupting the whole costing structure, or you're trying to solving, global problems. So there's something to talk about in this slide, which is maybe I'll spend 5 minutes on this. Okay, number one is that, we have invested so many projects, right? And most of them so far is on the red color one, right? The platform strategy. There's so many promising strong team, promising public chains coming out, trying to save the world, right? It's getting very competitive. So as a startup, if nowadays, today, you're still trying to go into that space, I will encourage you not, because the entry barrier is so high. They have raised all the money, have all the talents. So unless you have very unique value proposition, now probably is not the right timing to go into that space, right? That's why you see so many half-fork coins or Bitcoins all fail, right? And that's why you see a lot of public chain projects difficult to raise money. That's the reason for that. So you have to think twice, think even 3 times before you enter that space. So the party is over. Second, if you look at the company, which Chris Riley and Forsen is doing, I think that will happen a lot in the next 6 to 12 months. When these big guys are moving, a lot of opportunities will be created. So startups is opportunity for you to grab. And second, the industry. If you think, Google, Facebook, YouTube is not doing their job, you can disrupt them. You might have a chance, right? So I think that's what you can do. So for the startups, I think these 2 green color ones, I'll say, it's more interesting, and you might have a chance if you have some domain experiences, right? Yeah, I think you can try. Okay, then if you think about this map, there was some blank space. So what does that mean, right? I put some question mark over there. Number 1, as a company, let's say a huge company, now they say, you know what, I have so many customers, I want to create a new platform, new blockchain that everyone else is going to use. Right? A lot of companies doing that now. Will that succeed? Personally, I don't think so. I haven't seen anyone has succeeded so far, because it's a conflict of interest. And as a big company, it's not easy to move in that direction. They might be able to raise a lot of money, but tough, right? So we have seen some projects going on there, but personally, I haven't seen anyone that looks like going to succeed. And the other one is on the lower half, right? So you're focusing on global, you're trying to, you're trying to creating better value for consumers by having nothing. Okay, one example. I'm going to disrupt Google today with a new search engine, which is built on blockchain, you see? It's creating better services. Do you trust me or not? You don't trust me, right? Exactly. So trying to building a decentralized Facebook or Google or YouTube, it doesn't make sense if you haven't done this business before. It's very difficult because the technology is not ready yet. The user experience is not good enough. It's just not ready. Yeah. So I think it's a risky area to go in. But if you already done some business in this space, you want to try, then you have different. So again, this is more like general thing, right? So if you have an advantage, you think you can do it, you should have a strong reason to do it. Not because you think it can, it's lose interest in doing it. No, that's wrong, right? Okay, so I think there's a lot of things can happen in this map, but end of the day, this is the last slide. End of the day, I want to say is that as a startup, what should you consider before blockchain? I think don't look outside, look inside. Look inside your business, your team, your competitive advantage. You think thorough before you decide where and how to use blockchain to make sense. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time, right? So NGC, we are here to turn strategy into practice, right? Into reality. So this is the whole team, 20%. Most of the background is from traditional VC entrepreneur, financial background. So basically, we're helping the projects. Once you have a strategy, we turn that into reality, turn to users, profit, and revenues. That's all. Thank you.
We heard about what should be considered before complementing blockchain technology from 토니구. 네, 지금까지 이제 토니구로부터 이 블록체인 기술을 구현하기 전에 스타트업들은 무엇을 고려해야 되는가에 대한 내용 연설 들어보셨습니다. 이어서는 GBIC의 이신혜 파트너님의 연설을 들어보도록 할 텐데요. 이신혜님의 발표 주제는 한국의 주요 블록체인 시장의 동향과 시사점입니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주세요. 마이크.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shinhye Lee, partner of GBIC and Block72. 안녕하세요. 저는 GBIC와 Block72의 파트너 이신혜라고 합니다. So blockchain and cryptocurrencies are global concepts by nature, but we certainly think that there are certain key reasons, such as United States, Korea, and China, are playing a very important role in this ecosystem. So I'd like to talk about some key trends in these three markets and what are the implications to the Korean market. So GBIC, we are based in US, China, and Korea. We are a global crypto fund, and we invest in over 50 portfolio companies. And we have a consulting arm, which is Block72. Again, we have about 45 employees globally in United States, Korea, and China to help blockchain project to bring the next level. So again, we are strategically positioned in three key regions, which is United States, Korea, and China. And today I want to share why we think these three reasons are really important. So I will share some interesting charts here. So in 2016, Chinese win against Bitcoin, as you can see from the green shadow. It accounts over 90% of entire transaction of Bitcoin. And as you can see from the top, at one point at the end of 2016, Chinese yuan accounted over 70% of entire transaction volume of top 12 coins. But because of the regulation, shortly after, the Korean won took over the spotlight. And as you can see from the dark blue, Korean won accounted of over 50% of, again, entire top 12 coins of the transaction volume toward the end of 2017. And Korean love Ethereum. So we heard about Kimchi Premium, which is Ethereum price was about 30% and at one point up to 50% higher than those prices in other exchanges. And US has been continuously contributing about 25 to 35% of the entire transaction volume of the cryptocurrency. However, the transaction volume is not the only reason why we think that these three markets are important. So I want to share one by one. So first, United States. So US is a still hub for a lot of blockchain projects and funds. As you can see from the left charts, about 1/3 of the recently funded blockchain startups are based in the United States. And it's not really surprising because their existing strong tech background in Silicon Valley especially, a lot of good talent are moving into the industry. And a lot of activities are going on from the investment side as well. So, as I mentioned, a lot of activities are going on from the investment side. So what's going on? A lot of traditional VC, traditional venture capitals are getting into the industry. I will say about 8 to 9 venture capitals out of 10 are trying to come into the industry. And how do they do it? Is either number one, by change their LP agreement, or they set up their new fund under their current existing fund, or they invest in other crypto funds, such as like Polychain, as Andreessen Horowitz did, to really get the foot into the door. And VCs are applying their new investment tactic and they're bringing those tactics to this industry. So we probably heard about this equity, percentage equity. A lot of venture capitalists say, hey, I invest in X amount for the X percentage of equity, right? But we probably have not heard that a lot in the cryptocurrency or the blockchain world. But for example, A16Z crypto recently purchased 6% of MakerDAO. And it's quite interesting because again, it's like very like traditional VC tactics. And these tactics was not really popular in the crypto world just because number one, it is less dilutive because of it's not like several funding round in the blockchain, right? And the second, centralization has not been really encouraged in this industry because of decentralization of blockchain technology. But as I say, a lot of new traditional investment tactics are being introduced by some top US traditional VCs and the crypto and blockchain funds. And again, like equity investment has been on the rise because of recent like the bear market. A lot of investment has moved from 100% token investment to equity plus equity and token. And the total investment amount and number of deals from the equity, as you can see, the chart from the left has increased very significantly. It's about 280% increase, even in this 3 quarters of this year compared to that of 2017. And as you can see on the actually right chart, the average ticket size also double as well. So top 10 investments in terms of equity in 2018 receive about $1.3 billion, and just one of them one of the project has native token, which is Definity. The other are all equity funding. And not only the VC side, we see a lot of kind of innovations from the project. So you probably heard about the project called Handshake. Handshake received really good funding from top funds, again, including Polychain and A16Z. And then they get the 7% of token from the VC at 136 million valuation. But they decide to distribute about 85% of token to the community. So because like the decentralization on open source or this concept are more common in the States rather than in Asia, I think a lot of projects in the States are showing some new mechanism to really build and facilitate the ecosystem. And we cannot forget about what SEC are doing. Definitely a lot of regulatory body in the States are building thought leadership in the industry, right? So, for example, SEC recently last month launched FinHub, and there is a blockchain dispute ledger section to really show how they can move. They are still very conservative, but they know the need of the clear regulation, and they are moving on that angle. Now, I want to talk more about China. So, China is a very interesting industry. It's very interesting country. China ecosystem is very, very interconnected. Among exchanges, funds, media, and a lot of like apps. So for example, there is a company, fund. You think it's a fund, but they actually invest in multiple exchanges, multiple media, and etc. So they are building like the empire almost. And a lot of innovations, especially like the consumer side, are coming from China. So I strongly believe that technical breakthrough will come from the United States, but a lot of business side breakthrough and innovation will come from Asia, and especially China is leading that trend. So you probably heard about trans-fee mining exchanges. 최고령 거래소 in Korea. It's really popular. The idea was first introduced by Fcoin, which is an exchange from China. This concept is still controversial, and I think everyone is trying to figure out what's like the best way to maintain the price of their own token while attracting, acquiring users, and maintaining users. Right now, the maintaining and retaining users on those exchanges has been challenging. But what I want to say is because of this kind of new innovation, there has been a huge kind of, disruption in the industry. There are hundreds of trans-cycle fee mining exchanges have introduced, and they are shaping the order of exchange listing. And as I mentioned, China has a very technical advantage or strong advantage on the consumer tech. So this is actually the picture that I took from one of the really old industry player. He has been investing in multiple exchanges and also a lot of mining facility from 2012 and 2013. And he showed me his phone. And his phone was full of different apps regarding and relate to the blockchain cryptocurrency. There are some media exchanges, of course, investment portfolio wallets, community, ICO reviews. So I think it's one of the advantages that the Chinese companies do have because they have very strong foot and advancement on the consumer tech. And these are some examples. You probably heard about I'm token, my token. They are the largest Ethereum wallet called I'm token, and they're also from China. And not to mention, it's very interesting. A lot of hash power of Bitcoins are coming from China. And now I want to spend some implications to Korea. So Korea has high trading volume per capita. As you can see, the high trading volume per capita, the trading volume per capita in Korea was at 1 point 30 times higher than that of China and 6 times higher than that of US. And we heard about kimchi premium, as I mentioned. That's why a lot of countries outside of Korea have been really interested in what's going on in Korea. And many non-Korean friends ask me why it is the case. I say we are a very hyper-connected society. 24 hours, 7 banking has been always there. The fastest internet. And even when future and options were introduced a few years ago, Korea was one of the top trading country in the world. And if you look at the per capita trading volume on options, we are still number 3 and number 4 after US and Germany, interestingly. So I think Korean people love trading, and it's not like something very new because they are very used to doing online banking and trading on mobile phone. And another trend is we see a lot of reverse ICO. So I don't really like to use the word of reverse ICO because it's not really straightforward. But reverse ICO is when a business which already have business users, their end users and business model are trying to adopt the blockchain technology and the token economics. So we've seen a lot of trends in Korea. And because of this, so again, number one, there is research say that 30% of the entire population has experience in trading cryptocurrency. And number two, I think the average knowledge about the blockchain and cryptocurrency in Korea is higher than everywhere in the world. And number three, because of reverse ICO, which already have existing users. I think combining these three, Korea has probably highest potential to show mass adoption of blockchain technology. However, we have to work harder to take that place. So if you look at the entire ecosystem, there are many key important stakeholders, not to mention exchanges, blockchain projects, institutional investor and funds, companies and municipal government, developer and investor, retail investor and regulators and etc. And for example, Korean exchanges. So I believe that Korean exchanges need to take more thought leadership to really foster the ecosystem. What that means. It's very ironic that so many non-Korean projects are all coming into Korea to meet with the Korean exchanges. But a lot of Korean projects are going abroad, especially to China, to meet with Chinese exchanges. Why is that? Because a lot of the major Korean exchanges have not really the first listed any Korean projects. Even you can see out of 12 largest local projects from Korea, no single project was initially listed on 3 local exchanges. Local exchanges usually rely on other exchanges to prove that there is transaction volume. So it's very sad that we have one of the largest secondary transaction volume, but we invite other global projects to come to Korea to get listed on our exchanges. But our project, Korean project, have to go abroad to get listed, paying millions dollars on listing fee. And blockchain projects, it's not a very easy, quick problem to solve. But if you look at the market cap, there is only one Korean project on top 100, and there are only 2 in top 200. This might have changed because the liquidity and the market has changed a lot for the last 48 hours. But based on research in about 3 weeks ago, that was the case. And again, we have one of the largest secondary market, retail markets. But there are not enough great projects from Korea. I mean, even though it's very ironic to say that it's a Korean project, I know the blockchain should be very, very global. But I think Korean project or Korean entrepreneurs have to think global. It's not only about the local, they have to think globally, and they have to think about open source and how to build a global ecosystem, not only looking into the Korean local market. And regulator, not only to mention, I mean, we know that a lot of learning and researches and discussions are going on from the regulator side. But it has been true that a lot of projects have to go to Singapore, Hong Kong, Switzerland, where the regulations are more favorable to ISO projects. So I think it will be really, really necessary to really foster the ecosystem to move forward when we have the right regulation and clear regulations. And developer and investor. So this is what other people. So when I went to Germany, the ratio between speculators/retail investors versus developer is 1:9. And I think in Korea, it's exactly the opposite. It's 90% retail investor and speculator and 10% of only developer. But we really, really need the developers to really move forward with this industry. And the reputation of Korean developer has gone down a lot for the last few months. Just because again, like a lot of people just stuck in the old big companies and tech companies, and they are relatively less taking risks. But according to research, about 270,000 jobs will be created because of the blockchain by 2023. And I really want to encourage everyone in the industry, everyone in this room to see this blockchain and this new industry as a new opportunity for new business and new job creation rather than just pure investment. And if I need to summarize this current situation where the Korea face in industry, it will be 도강 천재남봉, which means it's a really rare opportunity, and 도강양회. So again, it is a very rare opportunity that the Korea is in right now. There have been not many opportunities for last decades that the global world has been interested in what Korean governments are doing, what new regulation will come out, and what Korean exchanges are doing, and what Korean projects are doing. Probably the last time that when I fell was when I was doing my MBA at Stanford in 2013. A lot of Korean big companies, including Samsung and Hyundai, were doing really well in global. And there was a dedicated 2.5-hour session where the class, MBA class, compare Apple and Samsung. And I was really, really proud of being Korean at the time. So again, Korea right now, blockchain has given even much larger opportunity to the Korean society. And I want to encourage every stakeholders that I mentioned to work together and really bring this industry to the next level and probably show the mass adoption of this industry sooner. So thank you so much, and thank you.
We've heard about the trends and implications in major blockchain markets for Korea from Sine Lee. 네, 지금까지 GBRC의 이신혜 파트너의 한국의 이 블록체인 시장의 동향과 시작점이라는 주제로 발표를 들어보셨습니다. 네, 다음은 패널 디스커션 타임입니다. 현재 블록체인 생태계와 4세대 블록체인이라는 주제로 네오 글로벌 캐피탈의 토니구 파트너, RSK 공동 창립자인 가브리엘 컬만, 온톨로지 리준 대표, 그리고 후오비 코리아 강채원 파트너가 토론할 예정입니다. 이 전체 진행은 이신의 GBRC 파트너가 맡아주시도록 하겠습니다. 네, 무대 위로 올라와 주세요. 네, 지금 의자가 세팅 중이어서 한 1분 정도 기다려 주시기 바랍니다. 네, 패널 디스커션은 40분 동안 진행이 될 예정이고요. 현재 블록체인 생태계와 또 4세대 블록체인이라는 주제로 저희가 이야기를 나눌 예정입니다.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Very good.
Great, I guess. So, yeah, I'm very honored to moderate this session. And maybe we can just do a brief introduction. I know that you present in the morning, but just in case the people just came in, would you mind giving just a quick 1-minute intro of yourself?
Shall I start? So I'm Gabriel Kurman from Argentina, co-founder of RSK. Been involved in the space since 2013, and I'm very happy to be here in Korea today.
I'm Li Jun, is founder of Ontology. Ontology is a new generation public blockchain project, and also co-founder of OnChain. OnChain is China's earliest blockchain technology company.
Hi, it's Tony from New Global Capital. It's a blockchain fund, $400 million asset under management. Thank you.
Hi, this is Elena. I'm from Huobi Korea, director at the operating department. Thank you.
Great. So the topic is fourth generation blockchain. So we know that people talk about, hey, it's first generation of blockchain is for transfer of money, represented by Bitcoin. Second generation is the blockchain for assets, represented by Ethereum with the smart contracts. And now we suddenly talk about fourth generation. So what's your definition of first, second, and even third, even fourth, if there is any generation of blockchain in your mind?
Okay, I guess. Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, there are a few people, of course, are not really disagreeing with me, but I personally think they will not even reach the third yet. I mean, well, first generation Bitcoin was proposed to, it was meant to free delivery of monetary values, of course. Second, Ethereum, she just mentioned about programmable economy. But, so after that, if we talk about the next generation of it, the next generation blockchain is basically adding more functions and different various things on exchanges of values, I think. But I think this is a time that we actually need to think about like those functions. For example, smart contract, I'm not saying that it's bad, but just those additional functions that we're adding on exchange values, if they are really, it's going to perfectly implement it, because I think it's very limited, and I think there are not so many real world problems that are going to be solved on chain. So yes, I don't think that we have reached the third yet. And I think it's very early stage at the industry that we're defining even what blockchain is, whether it is useful or not, or where to use. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, I agree. I think rather than fourth generation, we call it version 0.4. It's not even 1.0 yet, right? It's evolving. So Bitcoin doing nothing, just transfer value. Ethereum, little bit more, and slow, getting faster. So I think it's evolving, and it's nothing we can say is nice, right? But in the future, what if, let's say, the 1.0 it will look like? I think at least the user experiences has to be as good as Google, Facebook, right? And you need to come with some services. Anything wrong, you have somewhere you can go for help, so that users adoption can happen.
I think the new generation should from support the currency assets to the trust. Maybe trust is a big word, but the key thing is you can imagine what kind of business process or organization process can be done on blockchain. That means all the business process can be supported both on-chain and off-chain mechanism, the trust source. For example, an example I always mention, for example, digitalized everything, the desk, the table, we can digitalize in blockchain, do the business process. When you want to get the support, they also need the legal system support for that. So next generation blockchain should to mix the digital world and the real world legal system, the community-based trust together. You can build your business process on that, can support different complex issues in off-chain and on-chain, same times. Yeah.
Okay, so based on that definition, you think ontology is...
Yeah, definitely ontology is doing for that. We already have done one kind of version, already can support the on-chain and off-chain linked to legal system already. And we add more functionality for that.
So I would like to share a personal story about the crypto hype cycle. Because when we did our first roadshow in Silicon Valley in 2014, the hype was about Bitcoin, right? You need to say that your project was Bitcoin related in order to get funding. So that's the year when all the BitBase and Coinbase got their first funding rounds. Then that was very much related to the 2013 price spike. Then during 2015, 2014 was all about blockchain, right? Because we were in a bear market, so no one wanted to hear about Bitcoin. It was all about the blockchain that was beyond and more interesting than Bitcoin. Then in 2015, it was about smart contracts, right? 2015 and 2016, it was all about smart contracts, and you needed to say that you were building something related to smart contracts in order to get funding. Then in 2017, it was about ICOs.
Platforms.
Yes, exactly. So it didn't matter what your project was about. Were you doing an ICO? That was the question that everyone was asking you. And now in 2018, we're talking about Bitcoin again, right? And we need to be very careful about these hype cycles, because many times are related to what VCs are looking for or want to hear, and the ecosystem adapts to say what the VCs want to hear in order to get funding for the projects. But I rather talk about use cases. I want to see logistics solutions. I want to see loyalty solutions. I want to see financial inclusion. It's like the early days of the internet. We were just saying the word internet in every single thing that we were saying because it had hype. Again, now we're also talking about stable coins. Stable coins are very popular in the bear market. But as soon as we get a new bull market, who's going to be interested in stable coins, right? So if we are interested in stable coins, then it's because we want to foster financial inclusion, or we want traditional users to use blockchain technology without knowing that they are using blockchain. So I think we need to be very careful with this multiple blockchain generations, because sometimes are more related to what the market wants to hear than what the users are willing to use. We need to come up with solutions that are so good that the users don't know that you're using blockchain.
Yeah, so I think like the consensus in this room was, okay, so it's probably too early to be even talk about fourth generation. So the blockchain, in my opinion, is the first native digital medium for value, while internet is that of information. So if you look at the history of internet, it almost took 30 years that we are at this stage. We are using smartphone, you are using like browser and everywhere. And it has been 10 years since Bitcoin was introduced by Satoshi. So we just celebrate 10th birthday of Bitcoin. So we all agree that, hey, it has to be as easy as internet for users. We want to see real use cases. And we still talk about scalability of Ethereum. And the most popular dApps on blockchain has less than like 3,000 DAU, daily active users. So what do you think we really need to do, we really need to solve, or what we really need to do to even see the mass adoption? More than 3,000 DAU. So what do you think, what's your opinion? What do we need to do from every or different stakeholders?
Right, maybe I start. I use from traditional VC background, right? So even before the blockchain, this is the same question I'm answering in other panels, which is how this internet, mobile apps getting attraction. So the things like killer app, right? Killer app. So what is a killer app? It's that $1 million question. In blockchain, what is a killer app? I don't think anyone has an answer yet, right? So that is what we are looking for, and it might be in gaming, which is what we think it might be in gaming first. Not betting gaming, right? I mean the actual gaming. And maybe in financial application payment, which is already happening, and maybe something more. Unless that is happening, we don't really see it's getting traction.
Well, I think there are a lot of like solutions out there to resolve the issue when we're talking about the issue of scalability. Well, but the thing is, I don't think that it's going to be the particular one, but it's more like like a stack of different resolutions. So, for example, when we were talking about like on a macro scale, I think we're going into a right direction. Like for each limitations, we have at least like a dozen of resolutions out there. So, and she talked about the adoption. Well, I think the adoption would come when, let's say, the blockchain issues such as scalability, oracles, and user experience. When it's all resolved, I think that's the time for the adoption. Yeah, at acceptance level.
Yeah, from my point of view, actually, it's, just to compare with internet industry and the blockchain industry, that is 2 generations, yes. But people always argue, so okay, internet already supports so many mainstream business, already changed the business process. Why blockchain did not done that? That is very good question. But when you deeply think that, blockchain ought to do, for example, internet-based is 2 keywords. One is connection, another is collaboration. This is internet-based to do. But they use a centralized solution to do that. Almost every scenario, we connect and to collaborate to everything. We need a centralized internet-based company support for us. Facebook for social networking, Alibaba for e-commerce, and other vertical internet-based for that. That is cost and a lot of issue coming from. For example, the GDPR from Europe, they always banned all the internet-based, data-based business solution. They have to find another solution. Even not ban the data usage. One single centralized internet-based company cannot collect all data, support all scenarios, no matter risk control, AI analysis, or training for that. So they have to find another centralized way to work together connection. But the blockchain is the most important potential infrastructure for that. The question is why blockchain still not done that? Because unlike the AI or big data, when you talk about the big bank, I have AI to help you enhancement your functionality, help you increase your profits. They were very willing to accept that. But blockchain coming to the bank, what are you talking about? You are talking about, I will revolution. I will do a revolution. I will replace to you. That is quite difficult. We are not to enhance currently business. We are rebuild that, redefine that. So everyone in this blockchain industry, don't give up. You need to do another things. You are challengers. You are not a helpful things to help them to enhancement for the improvement. You are do a replacement. You are the rebuilding. So that is quite difficult because already have benefits in currently business, existing business. You have to existing to the long term and never give up and try. Yeah.
Well, let me actually come back to you because I think you brought a really, really interesting question of centralization and decentralization. Now, because the blockchain is a new trend, everyone thinks that the decentralized is the answer, but that's not true. We know that, right? We actually benefit from centralized body. And now I think right now we see a trend of centralizing the decentralized blockchain. Means we talk about more about security token, right? We need to get the approval from the regulations, right? We talk about, so for example, when ICO came out, a lot of people think that, oh, this is really liberating just because they don't need to be around, for example, Silicon Valley, where they're used to being saying that, oh, you want to be the unicorn, you have to be like a certain mileage around Silicon Valley or Santana Road, which is where all the VCs are. But now we are seeing that like a lot of big traditional money from the VCs are coming in, and they are more talking about the equity round, like they are writing big check. There is no more like the public ICO. So we are getting in more centralization of the decentralized industry. What's your point?
Yeah, I want to highlight one thing. Actually, I mentioned in my slide in today, is blockchain is not kind of decentralized replace the centralized service. It's kind of integrated centralized service or trust source and decentralized service trust source in a decentralized mechanism. So all the centralized trust source still available. For example, government private their public data information, verification information, bank from the account information. They still exist. But we need to convert them from a controller to a service provider. They are just a part of one-off service. You can choose those kind of trust source from centralized government bank. You also can choose another decentralized service from a community or some people-to-people reputation score. It's depend on you. You are the controller. You should know your data, control your data, and you control all the process by yourself. All those centralized trust sources still existing in long term, but they have not will never be the controller. They'll be a service provider. So that is key change in next phase.
Well, what I would say is that in order to reach mass adoption, you need to offer some benefit to your consumers, right? So the solution should be either cheaper, either faster. If they are only decentralized, then they will only be appreciated where there's a real abuse of the concentration of power. So if you ask any Venezuelan about the power of Bitcoin, they get it instantly, right? But for a consumer in the US or Europe, where they have TransferWise or Venmo, where they can transfer money almost at zero cost, the benefit of a blockchain solution or Bitcoin are marginal. So if you think about it, and again, doing a comparison with the internet, what happened in 2001 when the bubble crashed? And all the promises that the internet companies gave us in 2001 actually got fulfilled in 2010. And the technology didn't change much. So what was the major difference between 2001 and 2010? And probably the answer is that none of us in this room had a smartphone in our pockets in 2001, and probably we all had in 2010. So this, if we extrapolate that experience to blockchain, I think it's very interesting to think that probably 2/3 of those 3 billion unbanked that are currently outside the internet and outside the system will have a very low-cost smartphone with free access to internet in the next 2 years. And they are desperate for social networks. They are desperate to interact with the rest of the global community. They are desperate for consumer credit. And there is no bank and there is no fintech in the planet that can provide them micro financial services in a profitable manner. Unless you're using blockchain technology and smart contracts to build a fully automated financial system, there's no way you can provide them solutions. So my expectation is that global blockchain adoption will come either when we find solutions that will give a huge benefit to consumers, or when we get this new mass of consumers joining the global financial system through blockchain solutions.
Yeah, I think like the mass adoption will come when then users are using blockchain without knowing it, because it's like so smooth and so easy. But they are probably getting benefits because they are earning share of tokens by participating in the ecosystem. But they probably don't need to know that, hey, this is built on top of the blockchain, sidechain, on-chain, all these typical jargons that we are using here. So I actually really like the conversation about the centralization issue. So with the recent Bitcoin Cash forks issues, it actually challenged the centralization issues, right? So do you think it actually brought the threat, the entire the cryptocurrency or the blockchain ecosystem? And how, like, have you thought about any measures to attack it? And probably it's more relevant to you, Gabriel and Lee, Jun, because it's more relevant projects. But I think besides forks, with the centralized issue has brought a very interesting point to the industry.
Yes, I think the industry is in its infancy, right? So every single situation that we have if it doesn't kill the industry, then it makes it stronger. I was very concerned when the initial Bitcoin Cash fork happened. And after that, I learned that it was actually much better for the ecosystem as a whole. I really like to see open source projects competing in terms of security, decentralization, and innovation. When the projects start fighting among themselves without taking care of the users, then I think they are deciding their own fate, right? There is no way you can impose a blockchain solution to the broader ecosystem unless you prove over time that everything that you're doing is not ego-driven, but it's, consumer-driven. So, as we say in the ecosystem, honey badger doesn't care, right? And the ecosystem will go on. And I think the different decisions that the leaders of different projects are doing will define their fate of those projects. Every time I have the possibility, I encourage those teams working in different projects to put consumers and users first. And we're building a technology that is not only for the sake of technology. As I said before, this is a social revolution. There are billions of people around the world that need urgently solutions using blockchain technology that we are developing. So everything we do should be with a focus on them and how what I'm doing is going to benefit them. Do they need more transactions? Do they need more blocks? Do they need more decentralization? I think we will appreciate at some point in the near future the value of anti-fragility, right? At some point, blockchain technology and Bitcoin will start affecting very powerful interests around the world. And those blockchains that haven't reached a level of decentralization that makes them anti-fragile and cannot be shut down will suffer a lot.
For the topic about BCH, and from my point of view, is quite clear. BCH is not necessary to exist. It should be never exist, I think. It's not necessary, actually. Since from the Bitcoin is not like digital assets, currency. It's more like the gold. It's kind of assets. In the traditional financial market, we just one kind of gold is enough. We needn't to fork the gold and different materials to replace the gold again and again. Especially you have waste a lot of calculation resource and energy for keep those things. Even you win finally, you also show the centralized control for this process. We should put more efforts, more resource, more energy to the other ways. Already have a lot of kind of economic mechanism design to keep the decentralized level. And we necessarily always use POW to do that. Actually, POW also is centralized, more centralized right now. And the key thing is for the financial structure, only one kind of gold, Bitcoin, BTC, is enough. We needn't many kind of gold. Otherwise, we can have a different currency like US dollars, or RMB, or the Japanese yuan, or Korea yuan, etc. We can use different local the structure and put all the infrastructure for the blockchain to build a real business scenario in different industry. That is quite important. So I don't think BCH is necessary to do that. I think in the initial phase, they should be forked out. They should never be existing, will be better. So that's just my opinion.
But the centralization issue is not only about the BC8. If you look at the Bitcoin and even like all other things, the curve looks like this, right? So like very small percentage of people is having the majority of its token, right? Even it's more than the currency, which is right now it's 2080, but I think like 90% of some tokens of the existing coin is like owned by just very, very small fraction of people, right? So I think it's very interesting to see like how this centralization issues and what's like the implication to the industry.
Yes, but we need to remember that back in 2009, there was only one miner and one holder of tokens. It was just Satoshi, right? So we need more decentralization. And if we fail to reach that, the whole project will fail. But still, you know, if you see over time, the Bitcoin ecosystem is getting more and more decentralized. Now that the Bitcoin mining industry, it's, you know, becoming more profitable and worldwide adopted, there are other, you know, major chip companies that are getting into the ASIC chip manufacturing. I think Samsung is also started working on that. So with that, we will see more decentralization in the ecosystem. And the more and more users learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, the different projects will get more decentralized. Those who fail in reaching major decentralization as a platform will be in trouble in the future.
Great. So the one more question, I think, is toward the other side of the stage. So we see the recent trend is that like big companies in this ecosystem are building the empire. For example, like as I present in my presentation, just one exchange is not only doing exchange, that they are like building their investment arms, a media arm, and like expanding their basically business model, and then building the empire, empire in a sense. So do you think it's kind of centralization of power in a sense. That do you think this kind of trend is good for the entire industry, or what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's very debatable. As you mentioned, what we were talking about centralization, of course, but as I mentioned before, we're at this very early stage of the industry right now. Like, we don't even know how to define the blockchain is. Some people would agree with that, but so I think I agree that I get that this is capitalism, but that at the same time, only because we're at the very early stage, that you mentioned all the big whales are getting the whole funds, and I think that there's a possibility that it might just destroy everything. So, yeah, that would be my answer.
Right. I see. From my point of view, centralization and decentralization, there are no perfect decentralization and no perfect centralization as well. It's human nature. So in China, there's an old saying, right? If you're together too long, you'll separate. If you're separate too long, you'll be together, right? That's human nature. So decentralized, centralized will be the same thing. But I'm not too concerned about, you know, let's say Bitcoin or BCH or even exchanges are getting more centralized, as long as you are doing it, you know, right way. They're spending the money, right? Bitmain is spending billion dollar money in order to get into that power. They are not getting that for free, and they are still in the community. Let's say Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash crash, right? They will be the first one penalized. So they still share the same view. They're trying to be bigger, more powerful, but they won't destroy the community. That makes sense, right? So as long as it have a fair play, you have a transparent, and you allow people to be a little more centralized, it's fine. But as long as the community is still growing, everybody will be happy, right?
Yeah, so I want to bring up the last question due to the time restriction. So I personally believe that the Korea has, again, like the huge potential to become the first nation where we can show the mass adoption of blockchain, just because, again, a lot of people in this room have understanding of cryptocurrency and even the blockchain. And again, as I present in my presentation, a lot of business with existing users are trying to get into the space. So combining all these factors, I think there is a huge potential of mass adoption. So because we are in Korea, I want to like ask you to share some of your thoughts on like how like the Korea ecosystem can develop? Maybe just leaving some words either to like regulators, projects, retail investors, developers, or any relevant stakeholders in the ecosystem, please.
So definitely, I believe Korea has a huge potential. It would be very interesting to see when all the trading and speculative excitement that you mentioned in your presentation transforms into real use cases. We need to work together in increasing the pool of developers that can help build those solutions. And what I would encourage the local community is to think with a broader vision, to see what blockchain use cases are needed in Africa, in Latin America, in the poorest parts of Asia. Because, again, there are going to be very interesting use cases for South Korea, but probably going to be amazing use cases for North Korea or for other areas in Asia where blockchain can transform the lives of those populations. Yeah.
100% agree. Quantum jump, right? Some countries in Africa, they don't even use credit card. They just jump from cash to mobile payment. And I think blockchain has huge potential to bring the quantum jump of this technology and really benefit a lot of people. So thank you so much.
My point of view thinks Korea in a very good position in blockchain industry. Actually, blockchain, unlike the other industry, is policy and the regulation is more important because blockchain's business model is kind of revolutionary. They actually benefits for the society, but not benefits for specific companies. So the money or company is not the most important power to push the blockchain. So the regulation and the society, even governments, is more important. Just like the competition, policy or regulation competition between like London or New York in traditional financial market, and both in blockchain industry between Singapore, Hong Kong, and Korea, is obviously those three places already in the top position right now. I think it's a good chance. A lot of innovation, a lot of POC, a lot of practice will emerge in those market. The policy is quite important, so I think it's a good future for the Korea blockchain industry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Two things. Africa. Okay. Number one, yes, I just bring one of portfolio company Africa coming to stage this afternoon, talk about Africa. So yes, they will need solutions, technology solutions, Atlas money. So they are coming. So they are looking for, if anything interesting for the market, they were willing to adopt. It's very straightforward. It's not as complicated as what we think. So as well as for other countries like, emerging markets, Southeast Asia, right? Korea had a big push there in the traditional space, but in the blockchain space, that's true as well. So NGC, we have a lot of portfolio companies, and only one of them is in Korea. So all of them is not in Korea. They are all having global, footprints. So from that aspect, we probably can work together along the line. Second thing to the regulators, you better to be hurried because, Hong Kong, Singapore, they are all rolling out new, rules, these few weeks, right? So if you keep waiting, basically you are losing the game. So yeah, that's my message.
Well, I think for developers, it's important to reduce friction to make blockchain applications as easy to use as centralized applications. But if you look at, if you look at the current circumstances, I can't help to mention, but right now the investors, personal users, investors are suffering from, fraud from small exchanges, Ponzi of the projects, due to uncertainty of lack of guidelines related to Korea. So I do agree that Korea has a huge potential, but I'm really hoping that appropriate guidelines should be presented. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Again, thank you for BLOCKBATTLE to prepare this great time to share your insights. So thank you, everyone. Thanks.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
Thank you.
블록체인이라는 주제로 이야기를 나눠봤습니다.